Alright folks, welcome back. So for this video, we'll do a first impression of a new tank on the Super Test server. It is the 114 SP2. So this is a special tier 10 Chinese tank destroyer. It is practically a WZ heavy tank modified with a large turret carrying a 152. But the downside is it has no armor for the hull front and turret front, and the 152 kinda underperform in terms of penetration and alpha damage compared to same caliber guns at tier 10, like the 155s for the E3 and the E4, or the 152 for the 268s, version number 1, 4, and 5. So it's more like a Object 705A in terms of gun performance, if you will, but it does have a turret, does have 7 degrees of gun depression, and it is relatively fast for a heavy tank or tank destroyer. So maybe you wolf pack or just drive behind a super conqueror or something. But we're going to go through all the stats and the preliminary stats and the models and stuff, so it doesn't look as good. Obviously it's just right off the bakery, right off the assembly line, without all the texture models and other stuff. But let's take a look. So this is not the 100% crew stats, but it's still pretty decent in terms of accuracy, aim time. For a large gun, that's actually not bad. And reload could get down to about 15 seconds or so. So gun performance on paper is actually not that bad. You do have 35 rounds, and it's a fully traversable turret. That's pretty good. Horsepower per turn ratio is also not that bad. Hull traverse speed is slow compared to a medium, but fast compared to something like a Jagdpanzer E100. So it is a heavy tank's traverse, and top speed of 45 is also not that bad. It has no armor though, and it does have some health to compensate, but armor is crap, only 75 at the hull front, and about 150 or 135 for the turret front. But I'll show you guys all the stats. Now I don't have this vehicle onto the test server, so I cannot do the mods with the armor collision model and stuff, so we have to guess on the soft stats or the actual armor profile. But view range is actually standard for tier 10 tank destroyer. So taking a look at the model, it's like a Type 5 made it with a WZ-111 without the pike shape hull front. So that's a large ass turret. Yeah, Type 5 turret on a WZ because reasons. The rear kind of looks like a T10 heavy tank, or IS-8 or IS-10 if you will, but it is practically a heavy tank with a large turret and a large ass gun, so 7 degrees gun depression. The mantlet does look kind of thick, and it does kind of look modern-ish, but it has no armor for the turret. And the mantlet is bolted into the side of the turret. Alright, maybe even thicker around the gun, maybe, but we don't know yet. Does have side skirts and a gigantic cupola, but I'm highly doubting that this vehicle has some armor based on the current stats. So if it has armor, then you could play this thing like a heavy tank and not like a tank destroyer. But we kinda already have a tank destroyer based heavy tank with a large ass gun from a IS-8 or T10 chassis, and that is the Object 268 version number 5, which has been collecting dust in the folders, in the main file folders, for about 4+ years. So that vehicle never came out. Who knows about this vehicle? But maybe you buy this vehicle with bonds or something and waste all your money. But here are the main stats with a 100% crew. So the commander obviously gives the 10% bonus to the gunner, to the loader, to the driver, so that's why you get a little bit better stats based on the paper. So 2.21 seconds of aim time for a large ass gun, that's actually not half bad. And 0.34 accuracy, that's also pretty good. 7 degrees of gun depression, about 2500 alpha or DPM. So 650 alpha for the 2500 DPM. With the rammer, that's about 2800, close to 3000 with a good crew. So not half bad, but you do have the flexibility of the turret. And it is a tank destroyer, so you can mount the rammers and the gunner sights. I think you would put rammer onto the first slot, put vents, and maybe turbocharger to help with the speed, because this vehicle has 75 for the hull front. It is sloped, but 75 is not that thick. I mean, if it's like 120, it may be a lot better, but this thing seems to get pinned. And only 135 for the turret front, slope backwards, but I don't have the actual armor model, so I cannot tell you. But sometimes they misled with less armor or more armor on the paper than the actual armor profile, so who the hell knows. But based on the health and based on the armor thickness, it doesn't look like it has armor. But if it does, it has a gigantic weak spot on top of the turret, similar to a 268 version number 5, so nothing to write home about. But it does turn rather quickly for the hull. It doesn't even show it. It turns about 30 degrees per second for the hull, which is not bad, but the gun turns very slowly. It's a large turret, large gun, turns a little bit slow for the turret. And the penetration obviously is not as good as a 155 on a E4 or the 152s on the 268s. So that's the downside, but the gun feels a lot better than the other large ass guns, so that's a trade-off. Hull traverse, rather quick for a heavy tank. It has some decent camo, slightly better than a 263 or 268. I think a little bit better than a 268. Have to confirm, but top speed of 45, reverse of 15. It's a heavy tank, performing, and view range is standard, so nothing out of the blue. It carries 35 rounds. This is not the page to show it, but turret armor is 135. We already know that. Gun performance, accuracy, aim time, not that bad. Penetration and alpha, little weak on that aspect, but hey, that's what you get. 35 rounds. Gold shell is a APCR round with 329mm of pen. Average. 90mm pen high explosive round. Average. If you manage to hit a light tank, it will likely pen and deal about 1000 alpha, so that's the upside. And you do carry 35 rounds, so you could have a few to spare. It is a large ass turret, so you expect to carry a little bit more rounds in the large ass turret. But overall, it's all about the armor with these vehicles. It's a large assault gun heavy tank disguised as a tank destroyer, right? So it should have some armor, but 75 is not that great. 75 at the hull front, 135 at the turret front. That's not even close. So you'll get pinned with any other caliber of a gun, but it is a large target, so artillery would like to hit this thing. And yeah, without armor, you'll get dealt a lot of damage. So that holy, kind of looks like the Type 5 turret onto a WZ chassis, but it doesn't have the pike-shaped hull front. So immersion of the vehicle. But here is the rest of tier 10 heavy tanks based tank destroyers, other than stuff like, let's see, the E3s and the E4s. Give me a sec. As well as the Grill 15 has a 150, but what else has a 155? 155. That's practically it. Now change the crew loadout because it's not my crew. I use unorthodox equipment setups. This is more in line. Yeah, not the Foch 155. Foch doesn't count. It has an autoloader. It doesn't count. But as you can see, The penetration is below average, only 270 compared to the 290s, 300-ish millimeters of pen. Yeah. Alpha is also below average, similar to a 268 version number 4, similar to a 705A. So, but the 268 version number 4 has the pen as well. It does reload a little bit faster, so that's a plus. And it has a turret. The turret doesn't turn as quick, similar to a 268 version number 5 though, but it does have better gun depression and better aim time. Accuracy is about the same, close enough, but slightly better DPM and a little bit more health. No armor though. Maybe. Top speed of 45, so it's slightly slower, but horsepower per time ratio is about the same as a 268 version number 5. Not as good as a 268 version number 4 though. Camouflage rating is better than both of them at about 16, so the same as a 268 normal version number 1. That's good. And view range is better. 390. That's actually not bad. But it's similar to an E4 in terms of view range, but the E4 has somewhat of a turret armor, quote unquote, I guess. It does have a fully traversable turret, and it doesn't take as long to reload the gun, but doesn't have the pen or the alpha. DPM is about the same. DPM cannot compare to an E3 though. E3 doesn't have a turret. So, I don't know. It kind of feels like a version of this vehicle, but this vehicle has somewhat of a turret armor. It's been collecting dust in the main directory files for a while, and I covered it like 4 years ago, but it's based off of a IS-8 or T-10 heavy tank. It has a turret, and the turret is relatively strong compared to the 114 SP, but SP2. It does have a gigantic ass cupola and periscope, so bleh. But holy crap, that periscope is huge. Haven't looked at this vehicle in a while, but I don't know. If the turret has like 250 or 230 millimeters of slope armor, it'll be a lot better. But the gun performance is a lot better in terms of the aim time, as well as the gun depression compared to the 268 version number 5. So yeah, you could perform a lot better, quote unquote, but it's nowhere near as thick as the 113 GFT. This thing has like 230 slope backwards at about a few degrees, 42 degrees, so giving you about 290 millimeters effective. It does have a weak spot, but the weak spot is somewhat small-ish, but this thing has 6 degrees of gun depression. So you could hold down with this thing, but if it has like this thick of a turret armor, I will probably give this vehicle like a 8 out of 10 or something. Based on the DPM, based on the gun performance, and the turret design, maybe 8.25 out of 10. But now, it has no armor though. It has no armor. Maybe on the actual model you have a few strips of the 230. So maybe if this armor was like 230 and this side was like 235 or 135, this vehicle could be pretty decent. And if the upper plate was like 120 or 130 plus, other than the 75, this thing actually might be a good heavy tank to play with. But based on the paper values of the crappy armor, I would give it like a 7.5 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. Mostly because it's huge and a large target, even though it has about the same camo as the 268 version number 1. Surprisingly. But then again, that's still not that great. It's like a heavy tank. Well, it's like a medium tank. It's still not as great as you would think, but armor, if the armor is good, 8.25 out of 10. If the armor is crap, like it is on paper, 7.25 or 7 out of 10. it's only about the gun, so you might as well camp in the back and snipe from the back. But you don't have the penetration though. You don't have the 300mm of pen and the alpha to help. You do have the accuracy and the aim time. Is 7.25 out of 10 based on the armor? Toss up. So let me know what you guys think about this thing, but it is the new hotness. Obviously characteristics are not final, subject to change, so this is the first impression, but I think if you can buy it for bonds, might as well. I mean, since there are no other options, but I'm eagerly awaiting for new vehicles into the bond shop. But yeah, I mean, they could just put the 268 version number 5 into the bond shop for funsies, but still it costs like 15,000 bonds for a tier 10. That's still a hefty chunk, but for a vehicle that doesn't usually get played, it's not super OP like my M60, which I don't play, or the 121B. I don't play this thing. It just collects dust. Well, then again, I don't play a lot of tier 10s. Still, it collects dust, similar to the M60 when you have one. What the hell is my M60? I'd rather prefer to play the M48, not the M60, because it has actually armor on the turret front. So collects dust. But there you go, folks. The 114 SP2, new hotness or fresh off the press onto the super test server. So we'll likely see this thing in 1.12 test server or so, but let's see how thick the actual armor is once that model comes out on the test server. But for now, 7.25 out of 10, 7 out of 10. It's okay, average-ish. Let me know what you guys think. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Don't wanna sell you light. I don't buy it where they sell you light. Don't look at that unbelievable. I'll dream it, that me, that's the kind of thing. Yeah, I'll keep it juicy, juicy.